he has moved all the zombies, including the zombie baby. He's tied them all up and
basement.
put them in the basement. And who arrives but Foghorn Leghorn himself, their creepy uncle.
Uncle Les,
and the
man.
uncle thinks that he's like doing inappropriate things, but doesn't understand that these are zombies.
Yeah.
When the uncle eventually does
you got all these
find
dead
out
people down here.
that they're zombies, he thinks that he has killed them. So he wants to blackmail him for the estate and the money. And after that, the most bizarre thing in the world happens, which is the uncle throws a party.
Yes, he no papers are signed.
No papers.
Only the word and the submissiveness of Lionel is what this guy's banking on because he's been told to do stuff his entire life. So immediately Lionel goes back down to the basement, tries to subdue these zombies, accidentally steps on a rake. I'm not kidding. And then drops the tranquilizer.
And he can't do that.
And he can't put him down. He's like, oh God, what am I gonna do? He hears knocking at the door. He runs up and boom, a bunch of people show up.
And they are ready to party. They have booze. They have music. It's the 1950s. People are glad to be alive after World War II. They're like, let's just have a party. So Lionel, Paquita is still walking around with this jerk delivery man who is ignoring her and talking about football. She hears the party. She wants to go up and talk to Lionel, so she leaves. And the delivery
guy's like,
not too broke up
he's
about
like,
this.
Where'd she go? And then he just puts his hands in his pockets
and
walks away.
In true 1950s fashion.
Oh my goodness.
All right, David, do you have anything to add to this part?
Oh yeah, this just this whole after the Father Magruder scene, I was like, I don't know where it's gonna go from here.
Where is gonna go?
But it was just like I could not have predicted how over the top and just campy this movie was going to become by this point.
Yeah, so
it has nothing on Rocky Horror Picture, or I look at other movies of the genre where it's like a horror comedy, and like nothing can really compare to this because I did not know where they were going to go.
Yeah,
and so
yeah, they Bakita finds him, kicks Lester in the nuts, and Lester's toupee falls off. She runs down to the basement and finds Lionel and finds the zombie. She finally knows what's going on. What the heck's going on?
And instead of being completely disgusted or freaked out, she's on his side.
Yeah, and so this
is the woman for you, Lionel. Yeah, and don't ignore her.
So she and Lionel put down Mom. They find poison in the basement, inject all the zombies, and they dig up holes and bury them.
Give them a peaceful rest.
And then they're walking out of the house. And at this point, I'm like, God, how long does this movie have left?
I know.
This movie's almost over, right? Like, this is like the end, right? No, this is an hour and 7 minutes into the film at this point.
We've got 30 more minutes
and
to
then
go,
the finale third act starts.
Is on steroids.
And so
you want to take this one, Jake?
So I'm going to take it. And so you find out that they didn't inject them with poison. They injected them with animal stimulant. And you're like, what? And so all the zombies burst out, Macho Man Randy Savage style. We get a dolly zoom of Lionel, which looks really cool. And they're all like, I'm ready to eat. Let's go. They all head upstairs.
Including the demon baby.
They all head upstairs and they just start chowing down. It's pandemonium, guts and body parts. They're eating everybody.
Everybody's getting bit. Too.
Everybody's getting bit. Lionel finds Bakita and Les. Les is like completely destroyed, and he's like, no, I'm getting out of here. And he runs out of the house.
Women and children out of my way.
Out of my way.
That's kind of how he is.
And then like, I am like having trouble like remembering all of this, but Lester's outside fighting zombies.
They're all
fighting zombies. They're inside fighting zombies. There's a guy that was in the dumbwaiter, and he's only half of the man he once was. There's a bunch of zombies fighting through the wall. Lionel gets separated by
their property value goes down. Everything's getting destroyed.
Lionel tries to get out of there. He's upstairs at one point. Bakita's trying to help people downstairs. And
there are creatures and intestines chasing him.
And then we get the scene, David, where Lionel's running in place. And it's the gag where the blood's on the floor. He can't move. He finally gets out of there, and he steps on the body parts.
Roger Rabbit style, yes.
So, David, what do you think of this as we go through this insanity?
The third act has
when I watched this part, I was just like, I wasn't really even tracking what was going on.
No, it's so hard.
No, there's so much.
I was just like kind of just sitting back in utter disbelief at what this movie had turned into.
Me too,
And I will say, I was in constant laughter through this entire movie. Like, I'm like, oh, that's so gross, but oh my God, I can't.
We're
stop
supposed to
laughing.
laugh at it.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
And for some reason, Lester picks the teeth out of a zombie. And he's like, you got molars, eh? And I'm like, is he stealing it for his teeth? Like, and we never go back to it.
We never go back to that.
I mean, the assumption is that he doesn't want the zombie to bite him.
Because that's how you get bit.
That makes sense.
But it's also just a weird scene.
It's very weird.
It's like, we did the ADR for the teeth pulling scene. We're gonna
keep it in there, you know? It's making the cut.
And I also want to point out at this point that Peter Jackson's wife does everything with him.
Yeah.
That means they had to methodically plan out this 30-minute bizarre fight scene with everyone in the party getting turned into a zombie and depreciating the value of this property.
Like, just
by
tearing the
literally
house
just
apart.
ripping the house apart.
Yeah, they're bursting through wall
And
after
I'm like,
wall.
Peter Jackson, you had a woman that helped you write this, that helped you film this, and I respect her for that.
You have your Paquita, Jackson.
He has her Paquita.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's what we were referring to at the beginning.
And then after that, we have your scene, Angela, with while Paquita and her friend, who are the only last two people alive, are playing Call of Duty Zombies in the kitchen, boarding up the windows.
And she will not let the friend Rita
be,
she basically is like, no, I'm with you. Like, Les leaves them, he runs away.
Yeah.
Paquita is not that person. She's the one that tries to save the person that's still alive. And I think that's kind of a juxtaposition. Peter Jackson, being Catholic, always has like these moral tells. And all of his movies are like this. And I'm just like, that's an important point. Good job, Peter Jackson.
And then your part with the zombie and the light.
Yes.
The
so
light
they
fixture.
have one of the coolest effects that I've seen in a movie from 1992. Basically, this one zombie has turned. This lady was in the kitchen. She turned. She's coming at Rita. And Paquita is trying to like keep the zombies out, save Rita at the same time. And the zombie gets thrown back into a light bulb, which is in her head and keeps flashing.
Yeah.
And they built like a whole mannequin that they put this light bulb
and
in.
illuminated.
And it illuminated. And I was, when that happened,
Really
I was like,
cool.
that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And I was not expecting, like, the level of caliber, like, yes, it's gross. Yes, it's campy. But the attention to detail and the stuff he did with like a zombie movie, I've never really seen. I mean, think about it. By this time, 3 of the, George Romero zombie movies had come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one, the zombies are getting sentience, and they're trying to like go against the government and plan a rebellion. And yet they did stuff in this movie I never had thought of.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up real quick what year Army of Darkness came out, because that was in 92 as well.
Oh man.
So you had 2 films with wacky, crazy, gory camp. And man, it would have been a great time in the theaters, let me tell you.
I know. We were too young at the time. But I was.
Let's really quickly talk about the baby and the baby fighting with Paquita and the girl. It happens. The baby bites Rita. The baby they try to throw it in the food processor. Doesn't work. The baby's just too fast for him. And it's just
this demon baby is the survivor.
Demon baby is the survivor.
Yes.
And it's just ridiculous. They actually let Lester back into the kitchen after he
they don't leave him. He
goes to town. He takes care of himself.
He takes care of himself with yard equipment, and he left them.
And a gnome.
And a gnome, garden gnome. Travelocity would be horrified. But basically, Lester left them, and when he needs help, they don't do that. They open the door to him.
Yeah, which is like, don't do that. Just leave the man out there.
This man deserves to be bit. Okay,
Yes.
this is it. He's been a horrible person.
And speaking of horrible people, somehow Lionel's able to get into the attic to escape from a zombie. It was really cool. The zombie's guts comes out, and the guts like become inanimate, and they start chasing after Lionel, which is pretty interesting. Very silly and dumb, but very cool. And he finds in the attic he's trying to crawl away, and out drops the emblem that the lady gave him, and it spins and it points to
The
a
emblem
box,
of light.
emblem of life, and it points to a box in the attic, a chest. And he's able to get open this chest, and he finds pictures of his dad with this blonde woman. And he's like,
that he
"What's
keeps seeing
going
in
on?"
water.
Yeah. And he's like, what's going on here? And then underneath all of those photos is a dead carcass, like a dead skeleton
With blonde hair.
with blonde hair on there. And then the guts come back and they grab him and they go.
Basically, talk about skeletons in your attic. Literally.
Literally. Yeah. So let's see what happens after this.
After this, they kind of join up downstairs through a bunch of very wacky gags.
Oh, we have to talk about Les going to town with the knives.
Oh, that's right.
You got. So
he does.
Les grabs a bunch of knives and he's like, "Let me at them, ladies!" And he, after trying to kill them multiple times, he fails to kill the ladies. And then he just starts like, there's a shot where it's like just him and he's like, "Rah!" And he's swinging his arms back and forth with the knives.
And it's like sped up too.
And
He's like, chop, 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 chop. It's like sped up.
And then we get a shot in the kitchen where he's like, oh yeah, he's covered in blood. It's zooming out, and it's just all the piles of bodies like in front of him, and he's smoking a cigarette. He's like, yeah, I did a good job here.
What ends up happening to him is that right after that,
he goes to the basement. The baby, he's chasing the baby. He falls into the basement. And then what happens after that, Ange?
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember because
he falls into these scenes. Well, he falls into the basement.
Yeah.
And you don't really see anything. You see this like monstrous hand pick him up and essentially all he says, "Oh my God, Vera," and that's the name of Lionel's mom.
Mother.
So you assume that this is the Lionel's mom. Zombie has evolved into some new creature, but you don't really see exactly what it is. You just see this giant monster, the shadow of this monstrous hand pick him up and
straight out of the crypt keeper.
Rip him.
It's really cool.
It's very interesting because it's a lot like a Rat King moment where if anybody's played Last of Us 2, you know what that is.
Yeah.
But basically rats, if they're left in a place where they're deprived of light and food, they will actually start kind of fusing their tails together.
Yeah.
And there will be one rat that's dominant. And that's kind of what's happened to all these zombies that he shoved in the basement. They've become this huge mother rat like entity.
Yeah, sort of. I would equate it to the mom got exposed to the embalming machine, which had green goo in it and stuff. And then she was given this animal stimulant, which they thought was the poison. So that could be it.
So she could be evolving.
The hooligan, the nurse, the father all go out and kill everybody in the house, but the mother stays. So that's probably what I would do. But after this, we get the scene with the lawnmower.
Oh, dear Lord.
He fixes the lawnmower. He gets outside.
He's surrounded by zombies. Him and Paquita
somehow doesn't kill them with his knives. And the ladies are like, what are we going to do? And Paquita's like grabbing Rita. She's hauling her everywhere.
Yeah, she won't leave her behind.
She's
a good person.
And then Lionel comes in, gives a lovely look where he's like, you think he's going to say, let her go, biatch, or something like that.
Some like movie line.
But he says, I can't remember what he says, but he says a quote of something. And it's not as good as those movies. Like, you think he's going to say, like, it's groovy or something like that.
Yeah.
But then he gets the lawnmower, holds it in front of him, and he just
Evil Dead's
all of the zombies, chops them up, and it goes on forever.
You think it's like gonna end.
You're like,
is
this gonna end?
We're watching this going, is it gonna end now? No, he's still going.
Yeah, it's like he's actually dismembering the zombies in real time.
Yeah.
And we get to see all of it.
There's no cut. There's no cut in the sequence. It's just like, there's cuts, but like the entire sequence is there in real time for every single zombie getting dismembered by this lawnmower.
Yeah. So in the next scene,